Good afternoon. Good day, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Thank you once again for joining in. And this webinar is organized by Digital Technologies, and the topic is Unlocking Business Agility with AWS. And we'll be focusing on app and database modernization strategies on AWS. So today we'll be delving into the realm of how we can unlock unparalleled level of agility for our business. And you know that agility is not just a buzzword, it is a very important ingredient to enable us to thrive in this competitive environment we find ourselves. So I will not be doing this alone. I have my team members that will be taking up this with me. So I have Wisdom Nimako, he's a DevOps engineer, and I also have with me Uchi Chukwukeji Kingsley, a cloud solutions architect. They will both be taking us through the content bit by bit. So for us to have a seamless experience throughout this webinar, we have first off recorded this session so that afterwards you can always listen in, share with your colleagues, and also get more insight from that. For us to avoid distractions, we have by default muted your mics and also turned off your videos. However, you can still interact with us via the chat window. So if at any point in time you have your questions, you have things you're confused about, comments, or you cannot hear any of the speakers, please feel free to make use of the chat window, drop your comments, and we would respond as quick as possible. All right, for today, we would first off introduce digital technologies, after which I will be handing over to Wisdom to take us through application modernization, exploring this on AWS. Then he would hand over to Uchi that will take us through the rest of the points on the agenda. Then we'll take questions and answers as well. So towards the end of the webinar, I will give us in full detail the exclusive offer we have for all of our attendees. This is in a bid to help you achieve success and to give you value, and also a way of saying thank you for joining today's webinar. All right, so moving straight to the first point on our agenda, I will be talking about Digitank Technologies, the organizers of this webinar. So Digitank is a technology company that specializes in business application, automation, deployment of intelligent solutions in your environment, right? That's like our core here at Digitank. Also, our philosophy in Digitank is such that we run with our customers, hand-holding them throughout the digital transformation journey, and we strive to understand their pain points, making it our priority and delivering solutions that meet and exceed their expectations. And we do not do this alone. We partner with AWS. Of course, that's why we're here today. We partner with Fortinet, SentinelOne, to deliver cutting-edge solutions to you that meet your business requirements. And we are stationed in Lagos, Nigeria. However, we have footprints in Ghana as well as in Kenya. Yes. So our services, offerings are under three major pillars. They're either helping you to transform your businesses, helping you to achieve operational excellence, and protection assurance. So speaking of the first pillar, which is business transformation, this is when we try to assist you in operating in a more cost-effective way, lowering your cost, improving your efficiency, maximizing your productivity, right? We leverage on solutions like the AWS cloud hosting solution that helps you to transform your capital expenditure to operational expenditure. We also leverage on the AWS DR and business continuity solution that helps you to be very agile, right, and caters for disasters, as well as other solutions you can see on the slide. So moving forward to operational excellence, we understand that within your businesses, you might have different applications or systems that cater for different processes. Now, the downside to this is that it's difficult to make decision. It's hard to get visibility at a glance into what is happening in every unit of your organization. So what have we done? We have a solution that can unify your system, people, processes into a single solution, such that at a glance you can get visibility into what is happening in your environment, and make quicker decisions. You get rich business intelligence. And this solution is not rigid. It's in a way that you can extend it to your existing application. So if you don't want to retire your solutions, you can integrate it with it to extend its capabilities, right? So I'm speaking to SAP ERP solution. So moving forward to protection assurance, which is the third pillar, this speaks volume to security, securing your infrastructure, securing your users, your endpoints, in short, security in its all totality, right? So we are leveraging solutions like the Fortinet firewall that secures your network parameters. We're looking at Fortinet endpoint detection and response solutions that secures your endpoint and your users, and other solutions that helps with security. And our approach is not just reactive, it is also proactive. So we conduct pen testing, we conduct vulnerability assessment in your environment to ensure that we attain protection assurance for you. So before I hand over to Wisdom, I would like to say once more a very, very big thank you once again for joining in. And I do hope that you get as much insight as you had planned to get. Thank you very much. Wisdom, the floor is yours now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for the brief introductions. I want to welcome our esteemed participants connecting with us to this section of this webinar that promises to be an insightful journey to help you take your organization or company from point A to point Z when it comes to application modernization. My name is Wisdom, and I'm a DevOps engineer working with Digitank. I advocate for organizations and developers to leverage cutting-edge technologies to propel their businesses into the future. Now, in this session of the webinar, we are going to take a look at some introduction to application modernization and some challenges that traditionally organizations face and how to remediate all these challenges. And I believe that you will find this session very insightful and could help you commence your application modernization journey. So let's start with the introductions. Okay, so for someone might ask, what's application modernization? Simply, application modernization refers to the process of updating or transforming your legacy software applications to leverage on modern technologies and methodologies as well. Now, this could involve a number of activities, which could be migrating your applications to the cloud, or having to refactor your application code for better performance and scalability. For some others, they might need to adopt use cases like microservices architectures and also implement DevOps practices to be able to modernize their application. Traditionally, what we've realized engaging other customers or organizations, we've realized that they leverage on-premises physical servers to host their applications. Some also use dedicated hosting platforms like Hostinga or GoDaddy to host their applications. Now, the challenge with this methodology or traditional way of hosting application is that they face scalability issue in the time they want to grow or meet customer demand. And sometimes as well, security is of major concern. Now, this is where application modernization comes in, and AWS is able to meet you at any point you are in your journey. So we are going to look at some of these challenges and also the modernization triggers in going forward. In the next slide, I'm going to introduce you to the fact that all businesses, right, are powered by applications. So there is a popular saying that every company is a software company, and that's true. Why? Because we are all leveraging applications one way or the other, right? And this application could be either a line of business application for your employees to do data entry. It also could be an internal application, let's say an enterprise resource planning application, or a customer relationship management solution that you are running on your on-premises physical service, and the other ways I mentioned earlier on. Okay, now these applications that you run generate data, and most of the times organizations are not able to leverage on the data that these applications provide. So the data that's being generated and the data is the applications are consuming, one way or the other, is not able to, organizations are not able to effectively utilize it due to the fact that they don't have effective tooling or a good infrastructure, a modern infrastructure to run these applications on. And that's where infrastructure modernization and data modernization or application modernization comes in, right? So now that you've spoken about the fact that all organizations are running applications, we cannot understate the fact that all organizations are wanting to go global. I believe for whoever is here in this webinar, you want to take your organizations to give them a global presence. So what you see in the next slide, right, is that we are trying to emphasize or reiterate on the fact that all organizations are trying to go global and your products are becoming more digital. Now, since you are trying to compete in the digital workspace or landscape, it means you need to splice new digital DNA into your organizational culture, process, and technologies. And for you to be able to compete in this ever-evolving landscape, what you see on your screen tells you where your competition is skewed towards. You realize that all organizations are skewing towards becoming more digital and agile to be able to compete in today's landscape. And I believe you also want to achieve that as well. Now, the implication of this competition in the digital workspace implies, as you could see on the next slide, right, is that organizations will be able or will need to develop more modular architectures. Now, traditionally, if you're hosting on a dedicated hosting platform, you realize that most applications are monolithic in the sense that you have the app tier and data tier, and even the middle tier all bundled together. So it becomes difficult to scale. And also there's a lot of costing when you want to release new features or have an improved customer experience. So the implication on IT for digital businesses or wanting to go global, all right, is that you need to develop more modular architectures. You need to have a faster way of releasing new features to your end users, and also incorporate automation into your delivery application delivery processes, right? So this is the implication modernization or going digital has on IT. So now that we've understood the landscape that we are in, the digital landscape that we are in, let's take a look at some modernization triggers or the reasons that you will need to base on to start your modernization journey. The first, as you could see on your screen, if you are running your solution on premises in a data center, some of the challenges you face is data center contract expiring. And this is very hectic for some organizations, all right? And there could also be urgent capacity needs. You may want to test out a new feature or roll out a new feature, but you may have to wait for weeks or months to provision a new server for your developers to test out these ideas that you want to try out, okay? So urgent capacity needs could be a modernization trigger for some organizations or for some of us who are in this webinar. Even if you're already leveraging the cloud, you may still want to modernize to be able to deliver applications and features faster by incorporating some DevOps practices. All right. And then for those of us who are using software that is out of the shelf without any customization, you could be facing what we call the end of support for these softwares. And these are some of the modernization triggers we believe could be a reason for you to start your modernization journey. Now, organizations are looking beyond migration. Remember in my introduction, I mentioned that modernization, some of the processes that involves is to migrate your applications to the cloud. but organizations are looking beyond migration. And the next slide speaks to this, okay, where a statistics that was provisioned by Gartner goes to show that organizations are looking forward to more containerization or modernization, not just migration, right? So we are looking at modernization in the next slide. If Jennifer, if you could move to that slide. Okay, so organizations are looking at these, as you could see on the trends that Gartner predicted. So let's take a look at the last quadrant. We could see that it's saying 85% of large enterprises will be using or leveraging container management platforms by the year 2025. And this is very important for you to be able to appreciate the digital landscape that we are in and where organizations are headed. And for you to be able to stay ahead of the curve, you may want to modernize. Even if you're a large enterprise or a traditional organization, you may want to start leveraging on container management platforms to be able to compete in today's landscape. But if you're a small organization, you can also start small by migrating your applications to the cloud. Whilst you and I have decided, right, to begin our modernization journey, I would like to introduce to you the world's leading platform for application modernization, which supports developers to be able to test out their ideas and roll out new features to for their end users to be able to benefit from that. And that's Amazon Web Services, which is AWS. Now, AWS has proven to be a reliable platform for application modernization in the sense that it's user-friendly, and AWS provides about 200 plus services that is designed to meet customer need of all use cases. So you're able to re-architect your solution to meet your customer need without experiencing increased cost or also experiencing downtime. Okay. Now, another reason why AWS has been proven to be the reliable and leading platform for application modernization is the fact that AWS understands their customers and provides free tiers on some of their services. So for instance, a serverless compute option like Amazon Lambda provides 1 million free invocations every single month. So for every month, you're able to get 1 million free invocations on AWS Lambda. That allows you to be able to become more agile and get your developers to release new features to production quickly without having to bother about their heads about administrative tasks. Okay, so I believe now you and I agree on the fact that AWS is the world leading platform for application modernization. Now, the point we are in is to answer the question, how do we start our modernization journey? I believe this question is on your heart and on your mind, and you may be seeking solutions to how you could start your modernizing your processes or splicing new digital DNA into your culture, organizational culture. Now, to be able to answer the question on how to start your modernization journey, there are two major questions you need to answer, but they all fall under one umbrella, which is how much do you want to manage? How much infrastructure do you want to your developers or your IT professionals to manage in your organization? Now, the first question is, does self-managing infrastructure improve your business results? So you take a look at your team that you have at the moment. Probably you may be having more infrastructure engineers in your organization. If that's the case, then you may want to stick to an infra solution, a hardcore infra solution on AWS, like migrating your application as is onto a virtual machine in the cloud, so that your infrastructure engineers could manage this platform for you. The second question we need to take a look at is, do you have the expertise or the extra effort? Is it worth it? So how much, in answering the question, how much do you want to manage? We are taking a look at a sub question, which is how much is your team's expertise? So assuming your team are full of developers. Now for developers, they just want to focus on their code. They don't want to bother their heads about managing the infrastructure on which their code is running. They want more agility. And for that to be possible, you need to provide them a platform that abstracts infrastructure management from them. And they'll be able to focus on their code and releasing new features and innovation at a rapid pace for your end users to leverage on. Now that we've answered answered these questions, I've spoken at length about these questions being able to help you to choose the platform for which you want your organization to use to modernize. Now, if you've answered the question of how much do you want to manage, and you've realized that, okay, I want my team to manage infrastructure because I have a lot of infrastructure engineers with expertise, you may want to start your modernization journey by skewing towards more control platform in the cloud. Okay, so as you could see on your screen, we have Elastic Kubernetes service, which is skewed towards control and orchestration in the cloud. Your team is able to control the platform and also become more scalable and meet customer traffic and demand. Okay, if your team, as I gave in the second scenario, is skilled towards productivity, developers, they want to write their code and do not bother their heads about where they run their code, then you could look at serverless platforms like AWS Lambda or some platform as a service solution like Elastic Beanstalk for your developers to just bring their code onto this platform, which supports all application frameworks, and then be able to run their code and deliver innovation to end users very quickly. So this could be one way for you to start your modernization journey by answering the question, how much do you want to manage? In the next slide, right, I'm talking about if you start this journey, what challenges is modernization going to solve? So on your far left, you could see that developers normally wait for longer time for servers to be provisioned for them to test out new ideas or roll out new features for organizations who have their applications running on premises. Okay, in the cloud, you can provision capacity within minutes, and you can also tear down capacity within minutes. So within few seconds, your developers can roll out a new feature and test it out. If it doesn't meet UAT standards, they can tear it down and then refactor the code and bring it back, set up a new infra in the cloud very quickly, and then test out these ideas. So they become more agile in the cloud. Another challenge that we have, organizations have, is the fact that software is deployed in an ad hoc fashion or ad hoc basis. But in the cloud, you can incorporate continuous integration and continuous deployment practices to deliver or roll out your features very quickly to your end users. Security is also a challenge on premises because organizations are fond of using perimeter security platforms like, let's say, Sophos or FortiGate to protect their perimeters. In the cloud, you become more agile in terms of security because all these services or platforms that we mentioned earlier on comes with inbuilt security features where AWS is able to help you to abstract the heavy burden of security from your team so that they can just focus on more agility. The next challenge that is being solved is monitoring, where teams or developers or IT professionals who are managing your applications do not have adequate insight of how your applications are performing in production environment. But in the cloud, once you have your applications running in the cloud, the AWS cloud logs every activity, gives you a cloud trail of everything that is happening and performance insight so that you can have a deep dive insight into how your application is performing, so you could see how you could re-architect and refactor to be able to meet the needs of your customers. And lastly, I'll touch on tooling. Tooling is one challenge that organizations face on premises, which we realize that your developers are leveraging on different tools to build your applications, whilst you have your Q&A members also leveraging on different tools to test these applications being developed by the developers. Now, because there are silos in tooling, it becomes the lead time or the cycle time of your application becomes longer. But if you have a platform in the cloud, which AWS provides, these DevOps tools that could consolidate the practices of both your developers and that of your testers. It consolidates the tooling and then help them to become more agile to release features faster to production environment. So now that we've been able to answer all these concerns and questions, let's take a look at what could be the strategies for modernization of your applications on the AWS cloud, right? So in the next slide, you will see a roadmap that we have designed as AWS partners. Okay, so Digitank has designed this roadmap to help you and empower you to start your modernization journey, no matter where you are in the journey. Whether you're a startup or an enterprise organization, you can still modernize, right? And the first thing we encourage is to do what we call the application portfolio assessment. Now, this assessment is a three-step journey that comprises of assessment, prioritizing, and then planning, because we have to take a look at the impact of modernization on your current assets and organizational culture. Once we're able to do these assessments and get to understand how your application performs and the technicalities that comes with your application, we can then help you as AWS partners to execute. And the execution comes in 6 different ways. As you could see, we have the rehosting, the replatforming, refactoring, replacing, retaining, and also retiring. Now, this could be any starting point for execution when it comes to modernization for you. So we will have to come in, you have to partner with us, and then we'll come in and help you to do what we call the application portfolio assessment. And once we understand where you are in your modernization journey, we will help you to make a decision on how you are going to execute your modernization journey. So let's do a quick look, or let's take a quick look at an organizational use case where we were able to help them modernize their application. So in the next slide, as you could see, we are showing you an organizational journey where we're able to help them to transform their legacy on-premises application to a fully modernized cloud-native application. First off, we are saying that modernization is a journey. So you could see that we have 2 to 3 year journey for this particular organization. So it's not a one-day wonder where you just fix things and then you are done with modernization. No, it's actually a journey where we need to go through all the assessments I mentioned earlier on, the application portfolio assessment. So in this organizational use case, we see that we had to conduct an assessment of the on-prem application and then realize the impact on business and the organizational culture. Once we're able to do that, we realize that, okay, let's take or migrate some of the applications as is on virtual machines in the cloud, and then modernize some which are less critical or have less critical impact on business processes. And then we also kept some applications which are more delegate to the organization on premises. Once we're able to do that, and their team, remember we asked of the team's expertise. Now the team is becoming more familiar with the cloud. Now they are building competency around cloud native solutions. We're able to help them modernize more applications. So you realize that the frame for as is migrated applications are reducing, and now they are expanding their scope of modernized application, and the scope of on-premises application are also reducing. That means more applications are being moved to the cloud and more are being modernized. Now I want you to take a look at the cost implication that this have. Whilst they were running the application on premises, you realize that they are spending a lot of money. So you could see a lot of dollar sign attached to it. Why? Because remember the modernization triggers that we mentioned: cooling of on-premises data center physical servers, hardware refresh, end of support for some of the applications they are running on premises. But in the cloud, we realize that all these administrative tasks are being taken away from the shoulders of the organization. So therefore, they are saving costs of maintaining service and then pushing this course into agility or innovation. And this is what this organization experienced in a 2 to 3 year journey. So we realized in the last phase of their modernization journey, they were fully cloud native. We don't have any legacy application running on virtual machines, and we don't have any applications running on premises, fully cloud native. And this is the story we want for every one of us who are on the call. We want you to be able to fully modernize your applications and then be able to take advantage of the cloud benefit that it comes with scalability and whatnot. So let's take a look at the value this organization had when they started their modernization journey. So we realized that in the business benefits, they improved their return on investments, like the use cases I just mentioned, and then they reduced their total cost of ownership, right? And they improved the efficiency of their developers, where they are able to incorporate DevOps practices to be able to become more agile. They also increase business agility by delivering features to end users very quickly. Now, the implication on the app characteristics is that they're able to scale to millions of users. They're also globally available because they are running on a global infrastructure, AWS, and they're able also respond in milliseconds because of modular architectures that they are using, cloud native solution. And for data, they're able to handle petabytes of data by using managed databases, which my colleague will be walking you through. So we take a look at some success stories of organizations that embarked on modernization. So these are notable companies in the world all of us may be familiar with, and how modernization impacted their organization. So first off, let's take a look at Coca-Cola, who was able to cut their processing time from 36 hours to 10 seconds by modernizing their delivery processes in the cloud. Then let's take lastly a look at Washington Post, who are able to do about 50 plus deployments per hour by incorporating DevOps practices also into their delivery processes. So at this point, a poll will be dropped for you so that we could have insight into how you are doing when it comes to application modernization, what's on top of your mind, so that we can engage you further going forward and tailor solutions for you. But in the next phase of this webinar, we'll be talking about database modernization and how you could strategize when it comes to data as well in the cloud. All right, so I'll hand over to my colleague, Kingsley, who will be walking you through database modernization on AWS Cloud. Kingsley, over to you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Wisdom. Thank you for the insightful session so far. I believe that we are all learning and that we're enjoying the session so far. All right. So my name is Kingsley, and I'm a technology consultant. So in this session, I'll be walking you through the concepts of database modernization and its strategies. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so if you're wondering what a database modernization is, you're at the right place. So I will start by talking about the challenges with running a traditional database, and then a modern way of. So I'll be talking about the challenges with the traditional way of running databases, and then move on to what a modern data strategy should look like. All right, so moving on. Okay, so what are the challenges with running the traditional database? Like it's stated on the slide, the old GAT database providers. So with the traditional way of running databases, customers experience an expensive. So it's quite expensive, right? It's quite expensive running databases on premises. It's proprietary, and then it locks you in, making it difficult for you to port or move to another platform, right? And it's also the licensing are very expensive too, which contributes to the licensing cost of the AWS database, right? And then there is also frequent audits. So presently, customers want to move away from the traditional way of running databases because of all these things that I've mentioned, and then and also moves to a managed database where they can experience agility and then take advantage of the cost reduction, right? So, for example, in 2022, Oracle announced that they would double their licensing costs. That's if you run on their software on if you run their database on AWS or any other cloud service provider. So, because of this, most organizations are now modernizing and they are trying to move away from the traditional way of running database or move away from these proprietary databases to MySQL database, PostgreSQL database, and MariaDB. All right. So we're looking at the differences between. So I'll be talking about the differences between a managed and self-managed database. All right. So moving on. So why managed database, right? So if you're currently running your database on premises, it's a self-managed approach, right? So you take full control of your database. You have full control of your database. You manage the entire database stack and then the application modernization, which is quite a lot of work. It's a mundane task at the moment, right? So you take care of the physical security of your data center, provisioning of the infrastructure, managing of the operating system, the platforms, um, performing backups, routine backups, and then worrying about security of your data. All that is quite huge, right, for a database administrator. So with a fully managed database, you have the entire database stack being managed by AWS. And while your database administrators can focus on app development, optimizing their queries, their database queries, and then schema designs. So this helps your team resources. It helps your team to focus on innovation, right? So developing or iterating and also improving the software applications, right? And also it helps them focus on business insights and then leveling up their skills. So they have more time on the side to learn new skills, all right? So to add more value to the business. All right, so we'll be looking at the a modern strategy of running a database. So what does a modern data strategy look like? So with AWS, you can modernize your data infrastructure with the most scalable, trusted, and secure cloud provider. So AWS is architected to be a secure cloud computing environment. So and the core infrastructure is built to satisfy the security requirements of big government agencies, global banks, and other high sensitive organizations. And then once you've modernized on AWS, you can put your data to work through the best of um, the different data services or data storage services on AWS, right? Like the data lakes, and then data stores. And you can ultimately innovate by understanding your organization better with services like machine learning and AI tools to match your business needs. All right. So Amazon has made a provision for a cutting-edge solution that helps customers focus on generating value from their data with a service called Amazon RDS, which is Amazon Relational Database. So for the purpose of this webinar, I'll focus on Amazon Relational Database. Okay. So yeah, so what is Amazon RDS? So Amazon Relational Database is a managed relational database service that offers the choice of different, let's say, 8 popular engines, which is the PostgreSQL, the MySQL database, MariaDB, SQL Server, the Oracle, and the likes. And you have the Amazon Aurora, right? So this means that your applications and tools that you already have in your current environment can be used with Amazon RDS, right? So you can take advantage of the key features of Amazon RDS with handling database management tasks such as provisioning, patching, backup, recovery, failure detection, and the likes, right? So the key characteristics of Amazon RDS, which is Amazon Relational Database, is easy to administer. So you don't need to provision any infrastructure, and then they manage the database software, right? It's highly available, right? Because there is an automatic multi-availability zones, which is set up by AWS, and it's also highly scalable, right? And it's fast and secure. So um, it's quite fast because of the kind of storage which is being used for the database. So it uses an SSD storage to improve the performance of the database. All right, so I'll be moving on. So what is the benefits of this managed database? Right. So with Amazon RDS, Amazon Relational Database, you can experience an increased efficiency, right? So with managed databases on AWS, such as Amazon RDS, you can automate routine database management tasks like provisioning, patching, backups, and the likes, which is the administrative task. And then you can automate the administrative task, which allows your team to focus on higher value tasks, increasing overall efficiency in the database management operations. Also, you can also reduce costs with Amazon RDS, because Amazon RDS offers you a pay-as-you-go pricing model, which allows you to pay for only the resources that you use. Additionally, the managed nature of the RDS reduces the need for a dedicated database administration team, which eliminates the upfront costs associated with setting up and maintaining a traditional database. Right. So these factors contribute to the cost savings for your organization. And then we look at the last, which is to focus on innovation. Right. So, okay, sorry, I think you've moved beyond. All right. So moving on to the impact of business impact analysis of Amazon RDS. So IDC, which is a global provider of market intelligence, performed or conducted a study, right, with a wide set of AWS customers that migrated from on-premise database to Amazon RDS, which is the managed relational database service, using different database engines like the Oracle, the SQL Server, the MySQL database. And then some of these customers, most of them experience these features here, as you can see. So in terms of productivity, because of the automation of the mundane activities, it resulted to an increase in for 7% increase in strategic initiatives, helping the database administrators to manage more databases. Right? Then with agility, customers experience or customers increase. So on average, customers increased developer productivity by 42%, which helps them to launch faster, right? They can go to market very quickly. Then with regards to risk, so IDC identified one of the additional benefits that customers, in terms of the sample that in terms of the conducted study, right, that 34% there was 34% less database latency, right, which means that the possibility of downtime is extremely low, right? And then the last, which is cost reduction, right? So there is customers on average achieved a 39% cost reduction using Amazon RDS. So how do you modernize your database? So we'll be moving on to talk about how you modernize your database. Okay, so once you've considered to modernize your database, right? There are different approaches to modernizing your database, right? So customers usually think of going with the far left, which is EC2 instance, rehosting their database. But we believe that the best way to start with is going for a managed database, which is Amazon RDS. But that being said, if you need full control of the database on AWS, right? If you need full control of your database on AWS, you can go for a rehost option where you can provision or install your database on an EC2 instance, which is an Amazon VM, right? A virtual machine where you can run your database, you can have full control of the database, apply every security and data governance policies that you have. If you have codes, plugins or extensions that needs to be connected to these databases, you can do that. You can do that very well with the EC2 instance, right? So we have the RDS custom. So if you no longer want to perform this mundane task, the repetitive administrative task, right? You can, and you still have some plugins that you want to integrate with your database. You can go for an RDS custom, right? So this gives you an opportunity to still gain access to your OS layer, right? The platform, which allows you to install those plugins or extensions that you have to your database, while AWS handles the automation of your the administrative task, like the backups, the patching of the database, and the likes, right? So then we have the managed RDS, right? So with the managed RDS, you don't have the option to. So there is a better way to set up or integrate those plugins, right? The plugins or the extensions that you have for your application to the managed database on AWS, right? So with RDS, you don't have the access to the operating system, right? So everything is fully managed by AWS. And then you have the refactor, which when you've modernized your database, you can also leverage native AWS services like Amazon Redshift, which is a data warehouse, the DynamoDB or Amazon Elasticsearch to improve the performance of your database, right? So we're moving on to talk about the migration framework. All right, so to accelerate the database migration cycle of to Amazon RDS, which is the Amazon Relational Database Service, the migration framework is simplified to 5 stages, which is the discovery, assessment, migration, and optimization stages. Right. So I'll be spending some time here. I'll be spending more time to talk about these different stages. Right. The reason is that we've seen that a lot of customers have concerns around data security and privacy, data loss during the migration, or business downtime during the migration. And I'll try to address that with this migration phase, right? And then, so if cost is a concern for you, or if it's a constraint for you, as an AWS advanced partner, we can further help you leverage AWS credit programs, right? For example, the POC and some other credit programs that are available for additional financial benefits, right? So looking at the stages, right? The first stage is discovery stage, right? So in this discovery stage, we basically try to assess your existing database infrastructure to understand your requirements, the architecture of your database, what you have currently set up, the dependencies, if you have any integrations with the database, and then the database volumes, right? We also try to identify the type of database that you want or you are currently using. It could be MySQL. It could be MySQL database or PostgreSQL database and the likes, right? And at this stage, we also gather information about the hardware sizing, and then the licensing agreements for the database. Then the next stage, which is the assessment stage, involves we evaluating the readiness of your database for migration to Amazon RDS. Okay, so at this stage, you just evaluate the readiness of your database for migration to Amazon RDS. In this phase, we basically assess the compatibility of your database between your current database platform that's on-premise to the target Amazon RDS database engine, right? And then we are at this point, we're also able to identify any potential challenges that could occur during the migration, and we also plan for those challenges and then the database migration complexities. And also, we'll get an estimate of the cost for the compute sizing and the licensing requirements for the migration. And then when you move on, the next stage, which is the migration stage, in this stage, that's where you perform the actual migration of your data from on-premise to Amazon RDS, right? So we can perform this actual migration using different tools, right? We can use AWS Amazon tool, which is called the Database Migration Service, which is an automated service that makes it easy for you to migrate your data while your operations are still running. So it doesn't require downtime until the point of cutover, right? And then we can also use the native migration tools or third-party tools, all right? And then we have and we also, so once that migration has been done, we monitor the migration and then we perform a cutover. And once we've moved or you migrated to Amazon RDS, then we can optimize your database, right? So this optimization stage is basically just continuously monitoring the database and optimizing the database over time to ensure that they meet the performance and cost objectives of the organization. And at this point, we also implement best practices for security, backup, monitoring, and maintenance in Amazon RDS. All right, so we're moving on. So we're drawing closer to the end of this session. All right, so I'll be talking about a use case, a customer use case, right? So we have Flipboard. Flipboard is a global social magazine, right? It's a social magazine that that is a global social magazine, all right, with over 100 million users worldwide, globally, and then they use up to hundreds of databases running on EC2 instances. They use the MySQL database running on Amazon virtual machines on AWS. So they decided to modernize their database and then move to a managed database service, which is Amazon RDS for MySQL, right? So they were able to do this in less than 6 months, and then using the features of Amazon RDS, which is being able to perform an automatic version upgrades, automatic backups, easy restores, and the ability to spin up read replicas. It helped them focus less on administrative tasks and more on expanding their services, right? So at this point, so before we head into the demo, a poll will be put up. So we'll put up a poll to get your views about the webinar. So I urge you to kindly answer the polls so that we can get your thoughts on the webinar. Okay, so I see from the poll that most of our participants are interested in a fully managed database infrastructure, and then couple of others are also interested in a self-managed database and a co-managed database infrastructure. So if you choose the other options, that's aside from the fully managed database, you're not left behind, right? You can still modernize your database, and we can have a session with you. We can book a session with you so that we can have a deep dive of your environment and then help you start your modernization journey. So at this point, okay, so at this point, we're about to show a demonstration of agility with at this point, we're about to show a demonstration of agility in action with application and database modernization on AWS. So I'll be calling on my colleague to begin the demonstration, and then later I will take on the database demonstration part. All right, so over to you, Wisdom.
Thank you, Che, for the insightful session. Within 5 minutes, I would like to walk our participants through a quick demo to show them how agility plays out in the cloud. This is just to mimic a real life, or let's say a production environment application, and how if you incorporate DevOps practices into your application modernization journey, it could provide value for your organization and also help you experience more agility in your software delivery processes. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show you my AWS environment. Okay. So first off, I would like us to confirm if you could see my screen. So I'm currently sharing my GitHub. Do we see the screen?
Yes, Wisdom, I think we can see your screen. Have multiple thumbs up. You can proceed.
All right, thank you very much. So we spoke at length about how you have an application and then you want to modernize it and infuse a digital practice or culture into what your developers do. Now, in this use case, we have this application. It's a simple application hosted on GitHub. So it's basically a PHP application that is supposed to list out some items for an organization. Okay. Now, this is where we are hosting the application source code or the code base. And myself and the developers of the organization work for decided that we really don't want to manage infrastructure because we are not much of infrastructure IT professionals. We just want to focus on writing our code and then have AWS manage the infrastructure for us. We just want to get our code to a reliable platform. So we chose a platform as a service solution, which is Elastic Beanstalk. Now, Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service solution on AWS that allows every organization to be able to modernize their application. And it comes in various environments. So we created this environment for production. Okay. So as I mentioned, I'll log into the environment and show you around. So this is the Elastic Beanstalk environment. It's currently saying that the health of the application is okay. So because of time for the webinar, we went ahead to set up the environment so that we can just walk you through. Now it supports all platforms. So currently we are using the PHP 8.2 Amazon Linux platform to run this application. What it does is that it's able to allow you to just upload and deploy your code by just clicking on this button, and then it will allow you to do that. But for the purpose of this webinar, what we want to do is to incorporate what we call the CI/CD pipelines, or continuous integration, continuous deployment pipelines, so that we can release features faster to this application. So what I'm going to do is to share with you the link to the application that we have in the chat, so all our participants can also have a feel of how this application is. So it's a simple PHP application. And this is the URL that I've dropped. So you can all have access to or browse it at your end. So I'll browse it here, which is this link, the domain, the default domain. And then it comes up as digital pop list. Okay, so as I mentioned, it's just to take inventory lists of certain activities. So we are going to give it some lists, all right? So the first, I want to say the participant's name, okay? Then I'll add, so it adds to the list that we have. I would say I'll need the developer's roles or participant roles. It also adds to that. I need the company or the organization that they work with. It also adds to that. So we realize that this is an application facing public, where we can just come in and then list items and then take inventory. Now, what's happened is that management came to the developers and then told us that the name Digital Pop List, right, is a name they want to change, and they need to change it very quickly because it's affecting their company image. So they asked the developers to change from Digital Pop List to Digital Inventory. So the developers then come to their code and then look for where they can effect this change, right? So for here, we are going to change it in the header of this index.php file. So I'll just go ahead and change it to digital inventory. All right. So this is what the organization asked us to do, change from digital pop list to digital inventory. So what we are going to do is just to commit our changes to the branch we are working with, which is the main branch. So once we do that, let's take a look at the pipelines that we created. You realize that there is an activity happening here at the source. So automatically, the moment I did a commit to the main branch, pipeline is able to detect the changes and then start building automatically the changes that I've committed. So at the moment, you've seen that the stage has successfully built and is deploying to the platform on which the application is hosted, which is AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So we are waiting for that to be effected. So if you are currently assessing the application, right, once the deployment is successful, you should see that the name Digital Pop List should change from Pop List to Inventory. All right, so let's just give it time. Okay, so we've had success with deploying the changes from source to the platform. So what we are going to do is that we are going to just refresh the application and see if the changes that we effected takes place. So I'm going to refresh, and there we have it, digital inventory. So within few minutes, the organizational management came to the developers and asked them to make changes to their application in production within few minutes from ideation to end users. Realized that it was very fast, leveraging on DevOps practices like imbibing pipelines into it. Okay. Now, the beautiful part of the platform that we are using, Elastic Beanstalk, is that it also helps you to incorporate a managed database. So when my colleague was presenting, we realized that most of the participants chose a managed database rather than a co-managed or self-managed. So what this application does or platform does is that when it comes to the configuration part of this platform, it allows you to integrate a managed database. So you could see here under configuration, we have the tab called the networking and database. And we have already integrated a MySQL engine. Sorry. We've already integrated a MySQL engine into this database. And that's what we are. So if I go to edit, all right, we can see the database the details. So it has given us an endpoint to access this database from. And it's telling us that at the moment it's a coupled database. You can go ahead and decouple this database. That means that anytime that the application itself goes down, it wouldn't affect the database. That's what we call microservices architecture, and you can easily apply the changes. All right, so it integrates automatically with a managed RDS database, and then you can have that for your organization. So I've spoken at length at how you could deploy changes from application source code to the application themselves, right, within minutes by leveraging on DevOps practices like the CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration and continuous delivery approach to have your ideas and innovation go faster to the market. And this is what we call business agility, being able to effect changes and roll out changes quickly to market without having downtime. We realized that we didn't have to take down the application to maintain it and then bring it back online. Whilst it was still in production, we rolled out a change of the name to the application without experiencing downtime, or users who are accessing the link having downtime. And that's what we call business agility. So just to cap it off, my colleague will just touch on how to deep dive onto manage databases and how it can help you also manage your data estate in AWS. Kingsley.
All right, yeah. Thank you so much, Rico. That was an insightful one. It was really quick. So that we can actually go to market very quickly in less than a minute, right? So you can publish your changes in your application in less than a minute. All right, so I'll just quickly show us some features of Amazon Managed Database. All right, okay. So please show me a thumbs up if when you can see my screen. Okay, awesome. All right, so thank you. So for a managed database, right? So if you're currently running on premise, if the organization currently runs databases on premise, you can agree with me that performing backups, setting up, if you've thought about setting up a high availability or a disaster recovery, it's quite a Herculean task. It's a project on its own, right? Which takes a lot of days to execute, right? So, but I would show you how you can do all those things in few clicks on AWS, and then in less than 5 minutes, you have availability, you have a disaster recovery set up, or you have your backups all set up. Right, so for the sake of time, we have a managed database already created, a MySQL database, right? So you can see here the configuration is a MySQL engine. From the engine here, you can see it's a MySQL engine. So quickly, I'll show you. So this database was created as a single availability zone. What that means is a standalone database. It's not a high availability. So if you want to, if you tomorrow you decide to set up a high availability for your database, right? You can quickly come here, convert to a multi-AZ, right? You can quickly come to this place, convert to a multi-AZ deployment, and then you have the option to select which availability zone you want the secondary database to be deployed, right? And then there's a backup already set up for this database. So if you can see here, this is a read replica of this database. This was done, it was quite easy to be done. Like, let me show you. It's just a few clicks. So you see here, create a read replica. So I can have my primary database, and then once there is a backup enabled for this database, I can, at any point in time, create a read replica of this database. However, this has to be done off-peak hours, right? Because it affects the primary database. Then once you have your read replica, you can also direct user requests or queries, read queries to the secondary database or the read replica. And the good thing about this read replica is if there's a scenario where you have a downtime with the primary database, right? You can easily promote this database. You can easily promote it and make it the primary, which is a high availability scenario, right? The only thing is that it's not automatic. You have to promote it. You have to come here and manually promote it. But if you want a high availability, you don't want to perform any actions, right? You can, at the point of creating it, you can select the option of a high availability cluster, right? But if you don't want that, because of cost, you can go for a DR approach, which is having your databases being deployed across different availability zones, and then there's a real-time replication. Then at any point where you need to promote the secondary database, which is the read replica, you can come over here and then come to the actions and promote the database, right? So that's all I want to show. Okay, so one other option is on the primary database. If there was no backup enabled initially, you can always come back and then enable your backups. So here you can modify the database. You can see here it's currently on it's a standby instance, right? Sorry, there's no, okay, do not create a standby instance. So what I wanted to show you is you can create a standby instance, which is a multi-availability zone with this option. So once this is changed, Amazon will handle the provisioning of the replica of this database for you in another availability zone. Then finally, you have these options for, sorry, so the backup options, you see, the backup is enabled. So let's say, for example, at the point of creating it, you've not decided your backup strategy. You can always come back here to enable it and set the period, the frequency of the backup, and then the window in which you want the backup to be performed. We also have logs that are generated from this database. You can export these logs to Amazon CloudWatch, right? You can, with these logs, you get insight of your database and know how it's performing, and use it to improve the performance of your database and optimize cost. Then we also have the maintenance window, which is the last thing I'll talk about. So with the maintenance window, once you enable this, you can set a window where Amazon can perform version upgrades for you without affecting your business operations. So when you set this time, it means that this time has to be off-peak hours, right? Off-peak hours, because the maintenance window would actually would also result to a downtime, right? So that's why you need to set an off-peak hour for this maintenance window, and then Amazon will take care of the version upgrade for you. All right, so that being said, I'll be handing over to Jennifer to talk you through about our value-added services as an advanced partner. All right, so over to you, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you very much, Uche, for that insightful presentation. I'm really hopeful that we've all been able to pick up one or two things on how we are going to start off our modernization journey, where to start from services we could leverage to increase our agility, increase our go-to-market time, and be more productive, competitive than ever. Right. So before I go forward to talk about our exclusive offers for our attendees, please feel free to drop your questions. We could take them now. If you have questions, comments, you could drop them on the chat window, and also be dropping a link where you could book a session with our experts, right? So we would like to continue this conversation with you and deep dive into what pain points can our services, cater for. So we will drop a link whereby you can use to book a session with us and reach out to you. Yeah, thank you once again for joining the session and for your rapt attention so far. Okay, so without wasting much of our time, I had mentioned that we have some exclusive offers for all of our attendees. So to help you with best practices to ensure that you have your workflows designed and operating optimally, putting reliability, security, cost effectiveness into your environment, we are offering all of our attendees to this webinar a free, well-architected infrastructure assessment. So this assessment is going to be focused on network, app, and database, right? To ensure that you are secure, you're setting up in a cost-effective way, and then other best practices that are in view. And also, we'll also be offering you a free expert consultation for those willing to adopt the cloud. You understand that some of you are yet to start adopting the AWS cloud or any cloud platform in totality. So we will be offering you a free expert consultation where we would handhold you and take you through this process and how best to adopt the cloud. All right, so we're still looking forward to hearing from you. If you have your questions and comments. Yes, so Uche, have we discussed the poll? I think the first poll was about application, what bothers, them when it comes to application modernization, right? Do you have the result for that first poll? Okay, please hold on.
Yes, Jennifer, I think I do.
Okay. Yes, I can hear you, Wisdom, clearly. Yes, so I can see that. Yeah, please go on.
Yes, so we do thank our participants for sharing their thoughts with us. So we dropped the first poll to get your insights about how you have your concerns regarding application modernization. we realized that from the result that we have, most concern is about how can I ensure my existing applications leverage cloud capabilities to the fullest. All right, so that received the most of the voting, and there are other concerns about where do I begin with so many applications. The third was I'm concerned about starting from scratch and rebuilding for the cloud. So I'll address them, right? So for the first two concerns, which is how can I ensure my existing applications leverage cloud capabilities to the fullest, and where do I begin with so many applications? All right. For you to be able to get past these challenges, that's where we propose the application portfolio assessment. So we will need to align with you. So you need to book a session. I think that has been dropped by our colleagues. Once you book the session, we could align with you and do what we call the application portfolio assessment. Once we do that, you'll be able to get insight into where you are in your application modernization journey. And then we will help you to make the decision on what applications you need to move to the cloud and how you are going to move to the cloud. So we mentioned 6 strategies that you could leverage on, which is the refactoring, replatforming, rehosting, refactoring the code, also the retiring some applications that you don't need, right? So there are various strategies that we could leverage. We've spoken at length during the presentation. So for the first 2 questions and the first 2 concerns, I think the way forward is clear. We need to do the portfolio application portfolio assessment with these companies, and then we can align with them on how to execute the modernization. And for the last concern, which is I'm concerned about starting from scratch and rebuilding for the cloud. That this is a genuine concern, which we do appreciate, and AWS also appreciates, right? And the way forward, if you saw in my presentation, we had a use case of an organization who had to keep some applications on-prem and then migrate some to the cloud. So we are not saying you have to move all applications at once. What we will do is that we will help you to come up with business impact analysis of modernization. So once you start modernization, how does it impact your organizational culture? How does it impact the already asset that you've acquired over the years? So you might have invested into a data center. We don't want you to just forgo your investment, no, but we can help you to optimize some processes by helping you to move some workloads to the cloud. So partnering with Digitank, you may even have the opportunity to test run some solutions. So for instance, we can help you to move some applications to the cloud, which are low critical and does not have much impact on your business processes, and then you can start from there. So yes, we share in your sentiment that you don't want to start from scratch, but we can help you to start small and then grow your modernization journey. As we stated, it's a journey. It's not just a one-day solution, but we can help you to embark on that. So this is what I want to say about the poll that was dropped for the first part of the presentation. Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wisdom. Thank you. You've said it all, right? So you can start from the scratch, and we are here to handhold you through this journey. Right. So I would like to say a very big thank you to everyone that has joined this webinar. Thank you so much for your rapt attention. And we look forward to continuing this conversation. You can reach out to us via LinkedIn. Digitank Technologies is our name. You can reach out to us via email, so@digitank.africa. And you can log onto our website, www.digitank.africa. So we'll drop all of what these handles I've mentioned or the chat window. Please connect with us. We're looking forward to having more conversations with you and seeing how we can assist you in achieving business success. Thank you very much. At this point, we'll have to draw the curtain on this webinar. Thank you so much for joining and have a great day ahead.